Aloha, I'm Tetine Sentell. I'm a professor here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Public Health Residence Project, and it's really about sharing opportunities for strength-based public health promotion, especially around culturally and regionally relevant physical activity, and how that's meaningful to people as individuals, as families, as communities, and as collectives. So in Hawaii, some examples would be hula, spearfishing, paddle, outrigger canoe paddling, for instance. And then, of course, in many other places, there are resonance and activities from culturally relevant dance, folk dances, regional relevant dances, practices in the water, practices in the land.
My name is Esme Yokooji. I'm a Master's of Public Health student at Manoa, and I am the graduate research assistant on this project.
Hi, my name is Sunnu Choi. I'm an illustrator and printmaker based in London, but I'm originally from South Korea. Right now, I'm specializing in editorial illustration as well as children's book illustration.
I talked to Mele, my beloved colleague who's very wise, and we really both thought about it, and we're like, no, we really love the feeling of this as a resonance with that story in the background, the visual story, right, of the way in which Rebecca tells her, and it showcases the activities, and it's exactly what she talked about earlier, that tactile like feeling of the work, and it just felt like that was the vibe that would hold a space for the project in a way. And then the resonating is less about a like hodgepodge of things, but is about a sort of coherent visual story, but very much tied each time to colors and place, and as a specific story in each one.
My rendering process is quite interesting because I'm a printmaker as well. So I create all the textures using printmaking techniques, either monoprinting, etching, or like any kind of things that I can get hands on. And I scan them in and then in terms of the final illustration, I use a Procreate on iPad and then bring all the textures together on iPad. So it's a mix of digital and the analog process.
That's why it's so tactile. It's like you can really feel it, even through the internet. It's really beautiful that way.
And I also want to say, Rebecca, I used to work in Heia at the fish pond that kind of portrays that bay. And it was so funny because when we had the first kind of in-person activity, it actually took place in Heia, but in the back of the valley. And it was so wonderful because when we showed the work to the people that participated, they're like, oh, that's Heia, that's here. Like they were able to instantly recognize from the art. And I think that, even people that weren't, affiliated with the project were interested and curious. And I think the art was like a big draw.
It just felt like this was such an opportunity relative to the work now, right? To disseminate it, to share it, to put it, to think about how it's helpful, how it's good for mental health, how it's engaging, how it's good for physical health, how it's good for strength. So all that was sort of built in the background of like how to share out. This was so important to disseminate in communities and to people. And then with that joy, right? This is a strength-based activity. It's a thing that brings people together, makes them happy, makes them joyful, connect with each other. And I think that's one of the things art can do. And just so really, it felt like such a nice synergy and such an amazing opportunity to really tie all those things together.
Really conceptualizing who our audience is, who's going to be benefited by, our materials is something that's really important to me, specifically being in Native Hawaiian and Indigenous health, because I think having more culturally, tailored interventions, or even having more culturally tailored messaging, having artwork that is accurate, that people can recognize, that immediately draws them in, I think is really valuable and important. So it's been truly really fun, honestly, to make materials and just experiment with the different kinds of things, whether it's like making a video intro or editing, a logo for a flyer, or collaborating on a poster, or any manner of things. It's been a joy.
I knew about briefly know about Samba or Tongan, but I didn't really specifically know about their clothing or how it works and how the body moves, things like that. So it was, for me, it was a really, really good opportunity to learn about different activities as well.
Yeah, and I think that's actually exactly the project, right? In the sense that like each one has not only resonance across, but these unique, very specific pieces of engagement, the land, with the ocean, with movements, particular, with stories and songs and clothing from the community and care. And so the opportunity to showcase that, and to showcase that like very specifically about in place for like people doing it with each other as families and as communities, not specifically as like show, not as a show, but as a practice in community. And that has been really important. And
so finding ways to express not just the activities itself, but the joy and vitality that shine through them, while highlighting the connection between people, community, and nature, was really, really enjoyable.
How is culture a source of strength? How is connectivity to land and to heritage a source of strength? And I think that using art is something that reinforces that message, because a lot of times indigenous arts and traditions, whether it's storytelling or even hula is considered an art form as well as a physical activity, has been marginalized. So using art as a means to tell these stories and amplify these messages feels so right, and is like a source of resonance for me anyway, in engaging in this work.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
yay.